Okay, we'll stop over there. Okay, so tonight we have also Mamash and Yonah Diyam in today's parsha. I hope the Olam, when they were laning, Chap v'lo yiro panai rekom, and what else? There was another pasuk, a bunch of psukim about Aliyah L'Regel, and and what else? There was what? Okay, so then today's daf has mamish shabbos, right? Meleches machsheves was today's parsha. Okay, so we're up to Testament Bays, 3 wide lines down. There's a lot of achronish things on this Gemara here. So Rav Shimon Menashe says, what's an avera that can't be fixed? That's if somebody creates a mamzer. So Mashma, so Gemara asks, only if he has a baby, but if he doesn't have a baby, there's no irreversible damage. Right? We were saying that a mamzer is irreversible. You can't fix a mamzer. Right? So this too. But meaning you can't fix a mamzer. So we're saying, what do you mean? But it's an irreversible marriage. Right? The marriage is going to become usher too. Right? Adam. Right? If you steal from a person, you can give back the stolen money, and you can fix it. Guys, you can do gzeila. Right? As we know, gzeila is open. Right? It's armed robbery right in the middle of the day. That's how you get them. Geneva is more hidden. Right? So you can give back your gzeila. But somebody who sleeps with an Eishes Ish and asks her to the Baal is nitra min ha'olam b'halachloi. He has to leave the world and it goes away. Meaning he's gone. He's not coming out of Gehenna. Why? Because he answered this woman forever to her husband because he slept with her. Somebody doesn't say fix the camel and fix the chazer. Or check, check it. Check a gomel to see if it's kosher. Check a chazir, check a pig to see if it's kosher, right? Because everybody knows it's not kosher. What we say is check a tleh, right? A tleh is a sheep, a lamb, right? So you can't say that mu'ubas lo yuchal liskan is going on something that was always also. So what's it referring to? Talmud Chacham shepirish min haTorah. Talmud Chacham was pirish min haTorah, which he was heter. He became Isser.
What's that pasuk for Krishma or something? In Brachas and Tefillah?
That was yesterday's daf, yes.
Yesterday? That was in Brachas.
I know, but it's brought yesterday. We had it yesterday. Look up right up in the look up 10 lines, 15 lines. It was Erev Shabbos, so it's busy.
I know, I know. Okay. I'll go it up slow later.
The Gemara in Brachas is talking about if you miss mincha.
Right.
You missed this man, right? So that was yesterday. The Gemara brings it about 10, 15 lines up, unless you're referring to something else.
No, it could be yesterday was like you said, it was in and out.
It's Friday, no? Yeah. So anyway, it says that Talmud Chacham shepirish min haTorah. You melacha shama kol Talmud Chacham shepirish min haTorah. Allah v'kasav aimer. Ketzipor naidedes min kana kain ish naided min mekaymer. Tzipor flies from its kina, from its nest, and so a man that goes away from his place, meaning from his place of learning. And it says, "Ma matzu avasechem bi." What are your fathers gonna find in me? Avel ki rachku me'alai, right? That I'm sorry. Ma matzu avasechem bi avel. What bad thing did they find in me? That ki rachku me'alai, that they're making themselves stay away from me. Whatever it is, what do you see from this? That the first part of this brisa is saying that something irreversible is even if you don't have a mamzer, right? You answered the woman. A man goes and sleeps with a married woman, she becomes usher forever. So you're doing irreversible damage even if she doesn't get pregnant, right? So why do you have to come on to mamzer? So Gemara says, like kasha kan ba choysay pnuya. Now, one is talking about if he slept with his sister who's single, right? So nothing becomes usher to her, right? Even if she has if she has a baby, then it's going to be a mamzer, but kan be'eshes ish. So if it's an eshes ish, so then there it's going to be irreversible. Meaning, bias, if he sleeps with his sister can still get married like any regular woman. She can't marry a kohen, but she can.
You can marry anybody in Arkansas.
That's well, she could stay married to her sibling for that price, right. But yeah. So, anyways, so that's one way. The Iba is saying, or they're both talking about it's just like kasha kan ba'aynis now on Amud Aleph. One is talking about an aynis kan ba'ratzon, meaning the halacha is that if a married woman becomes an aynis, meaning was ma'anis, she was raped, she doesn't become usher, right? But if it was baratzon, then she does become usher, right? So therefore, it's a problem. Now the whatever.
This is Purim Torah. Esther.
Because of Esther, right? Esther's exactly. From the beginning, she was. Yes, thank you for that reminder. Esther, the beginning. Achashverosh was ma'anis her, and then when she went voluntarily, that became baratzon, and then it became asa. Now, what the Menuvalim nowadays do, they're very learned. So what the Menuvalim nowadays do is when the mafata, the married ladies, so they do everything but actual intercourse. So like they know that they won't become asa. Those are the Grois Lamdonim. That's what they do.
The question is, what do you call Avera Lishma? I mean, did Esther engage in Avera Lishma? I mean, like, she was doing something to try to save Klal Yisrael.
Right, so you can't change you can't bend the rules. I'm saying the rules are the rules. Okay, well, you have Taisus in Sanhedrin that goes through this.
I know.
Yes, it goes through this whole thing with the Biba is saying or another teretz, Hava Einis. They're both Einis, but like Kasha kan Beishis Kayin, kan Beishis Yisrael. They're both Einis, but we know that it didn't by a Kayin, by a wife of a Kayin, if she was raped, she still has to get divorced, right? One of the more difficult halachos to understand from these all things, right? And a wife of a kohen gets raped, she becomes asa. If a wife of a Yisrael gets raped, then they don't become asa, right? So our Mishnah, we were referring to what it says that it's not a problem. It's talking about where it was a rape, and I mean it's a problem. It's a problem, meaning it's not an irreversible problem. Is because they could stay married, right? Yeah. So anyway, so that's yeah. So he, there's some interesting shilas that come up. Let's say a woman didn't know. Rabbi Razin went off on this a lot. I was listening when I checked the Erev on Friday. So of course he went into Ramesh's big chiddush that everybody hates. That she only becomes usher when it's an actual physical relationship, right? Can a woman use the sperm donation from somebody else? Is that considered a bia to make her usher to her husband? To Ramesha says absolutely does not make her usher to her husband. To which Satmar Rebbe was not very happy with that, right? So that was one. And then they have also the case of the Yavitz. It's a shtickle famous, this case of the Yavitz, where a woman was promiscuous and she became pregnant from the relationship and she wanted to abort it. She wanted to have an abortion, so not to have a mamzer. And B'shas Chag Gadol, the Rabbi Yaakov Emden mattered it. Part of his svara was based on, well, she's really chayiv misa anyways, so this fetus should really be killed, right? So memela, what it's not so you got to be a Rabbi Yaakov Emden, and I know you got to be a Rabbi Yaakov Emden for this, and even he only B'shas Chag. I never heard of anybody going with this kula for rape. Sometimes they will for rape. Sometimes not if it's early enough.
There was some.
One second, but that doesn't follow that svara. But she doesn't deserve misa if she was
right.
raped.
No, using a different less than 40 days and all that. They'll use that type of thing. There were some
shilas and chuvas after the Shoah about Eishes Kohanim that survived the war and tried to get back with their husbands that were Kohanim. and I forget who wrote the Sefer in the Shires of Chuvas, but they martyred the wives of some of the women after the Shoah.
Moshe dealt with this a
Oh,
lot.
because they were there. The problem was what they were bad. They raped, or was shot that they once they're under goy. I think they were under goy when an Ashes Kohen gets captured by a guy. The assumption is that they were mizan, they were manas.
Right.
That,
I think this
yes.
was the one case where she had tattooed on her arm Zona of Hitler in German.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
And after the war, they went to this Rav in one of the camps and they met up and he martyred her.
Wow.
Well, I mean, he could have said the heter that we think she's doing this to get out of the marriage. That would be the heter, would it not?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, that's never can these. Anyway, so that's fine. Anyway, so that's those are the different things. Fine. Then the Gemara says 3 lines down. Ain't shalom. Somebody who leaves, right, or comes, there's no peace for him. Okay, so what does this mean? Since a person goes out from learning halacha to psukim, right? Meaning he goes from learning Mishnayos, Rashi says, to just learning Nach. Shuv ein lo shalom, he has no peace. Because you can't paskin, as we all know, can't paskin from a Gemara, and even Shulchan Aruch b'zman hazeh, but Kol Shekain, you're not going to paskin from psukim. Shmuel Amar zeh haparish mitamad leMishna. It's even going from learning Gemara to Mishnayos. You're not going to be able to paskin. Even if you go from Shas Bavli to Shas Yerushalmi, you're going to have a problem. I'm sorry. Rashi says it the other way. If you go from learning Shas Yerushalmi to Shas Bavli, Shas Yerushalmi is much more straightforward. Shas Bavli is svaras and kashas, terutzim, right? And the miilah, you're going to have a harder time if you stop learning Yerushalmi to go to Bavli, right? Some say a different shot, that it's really going from Bavli to Yerushalmi, right? Because Bavli is much more at length. Okay, whatever it is, but when you change from one thing to the next, so then it's a problem. Fine. Okay, Zok the Mishna. Heter nedarim parchin ba'avir. So the heter of nedarim, right? Somebody makes a neder. So those are very complicated halachos, right? And they're just flying around in the air, right? And we don't have anything to rely on with it, which is a terminology can be a little. You could be confused by the way. There's nothing to be saimach on. Meaning there's very few psukim that you can base the halachos on. Very few psukim that you could base nedarim halachos on, as we're going to see in the Gemara. Hilchos shabbos, chagigos v'meilah, but Hilchos shabbos, the korban chagigah halachos, which is why this mission is brought here. V'meilah, and meilah means using something of hektish. Haraim k'hararim hatuliyim b'saira. That's like mountains that are hanging by a hair, right? Which Rashi says b'sairas roish. I don't know exactly what Rashi's getting at with that. Hair of the head. Okay. Shein mikra mu'at.
It's less strong.
It's less
Other
strong.
hair is
That's
stronger.
what it means.
Yeah.
I hear. Okay, very good.
Presumably it means white people.
Yeah. Okay. Shein mikra mu'at v'hilchos merubas, because there's very few psukim and there's a lot of halachos, right? Which is today's parsha. Today's parsha we learn Hilchos Shabbos because it's right next to the halachos of the Mishkan. That's how we know the lamites melachos. There's no psukim about lamites melachos, right? One, havara, right? But right, the rest again. So then the rest is all learned out from that, from smichas aparshias. Fine, hadinin, which is choshe mishpat, finances, va'avodas, and korbanos, hatayras v'tmeyas, and tuma and tyra, ba'arayas, yeshlen al machsheves ve'ein hein gufei Torah. There you have a lot of psukim on tuma and tyra, and on choshe mishpat, right? You have the whole mishpatim. It's all those psukim, different shaimrim, all sorts of things. Ve'ein hein gufei Torah, and they're all gufei Torah. Yeah. Meaning, these things are the main part of the Torah, which the Gemara is going to ask later on. What do you mean the hein gufei Torah? And the first part of the mission is not gufei Torah. Meaning, an apikaris can have a field day with this Mishnah. That's the bottom line. An apikaris could really, really have a field day. But because it sounds like some things are gufei Torah, it sounds like some halachos you don't have what to rely on, some halachos do have what to rely on. Okay. Now the Gemara goes through a number of different pshatim of why nedarim is not so simple. So Tani Rav Eliezer and Yeshlam al Yashmi, Yeshlam al Mashi Yisnachu. You do have what to rely on. Shenemar ki yafli shtei pamim. It says when a person yafli means when he's saying out a neder, right? So it says it twice. Achas afla le'iser, achas afla leheter. One is to make something aser, and then one thing is to make something mutter. Meaning he makes a neder to aser something. Meaning let's say he makes a neder, which maybe I should do every month to Shabbos. He makes a neder not to eat too much. Right? That would be a worthwhile neder. Right? Then comes Sunday morning. Now I want to be chayzer on that neder. Right? So the question is I think I do make that neder every month to Shabbos. I want to be chayzer. Right? So that's it. So that's you want one for Issa, one for Heter. Right? That's what it's mashma. That would be a pasuk. That would be the one pasuk to maybe rely on to say that what nedarim is. Maybe Shuaimer, there's a different pasuk you could rely on. Shenemar, Asher Nishpati Va'api. For all those of us that make it to davening early enough to daven this is in Kabbalah Shabbos. Yeah. So I'm going to swear when I'm angry that they're not going to right? Va'api Nishpati V'chazarti. I made a shvua when I got angry. I'm neder when I got angry, and then I changed my mind. This is the third pshat. Shenemar, kol nediv liboy. Anybody who gives a neder, a nadava from his heart. Yeah, so meaning, if his heart still is into it, then he'll have to bring it. But if he has a change of heart, then he doesn't have to. Right? Meaning again, nedarim, the hard part of nedarim. Which we'll see be'erich in 6-7 months, maybe 8 months, right? That it's Be'ez Hashem, right? It's the third Masechta in Noshim. So that it's about when you're allowed to be matter the neder. That's where it gets complicated. From Hanani ben Achid Yeshua, Hanania, the nephew of Rabbi Yeshua, yeah.
Isn't Rabbi Yeshua's pasuk problematic as far as can a Kadosh Baruch Hu change his mind? Like, does he change his mind? That's problematic.
Well, is this week's part? This is this week's parsha.
Why?
Leave me alone.
What are you saying?
In this week's parsha, he wanted to destroy Klal Yisrael.
No, that was not.
He
That's
wanted to start over with the Moshe. So Moshe was followed it to what he called it. He should not do that. He did change it.
That's punishment and retribution. I mean, the Jews, they deserve punishment. That's different. That's not anger. That's not. He says something and he changes his mind. It was a suggestion. He didn't do it.
In the beginning of the world, didn't he change his mind? Didn't he say, "I see that man is man"? Okay, we're getting into deep.
Yeah, Hashem said he wanted to destroy the world.
Hashem said, "I see that I created man, and man is Rami Neuro,
and man's
which again
weak.
he sounded like from this parsha too."
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, Hashem said he wanted to destroy. He said he made a mistake, whatever. He said man's not up to it.
Right. So I don't know. Was that a change of mind?
Sounds like it.
I think it's problematic for the people that eat Yiddishkeit.
From our perspective.
No, that's true. No, you're right. It could be problematic.
It's from our perspective. It's a change. I mean, if you're in a car and you think there's motion in the car. A train is going faster than you think you're going backwards. That's from our perspective. Hashem didn't change his mind. Just we think so. That's how we see it. It's like a little child. Your parents are doing this and that. You think your parents changed their mind. They had a plan the whole time. The whole plan was to go to, seriously.
Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. That's maybe, but I wonder if this is just a. I don't know. I don't want to sound like an apikaris now, right? It's like a play on word. Like he says, why do you have to say I swore in my anger? It's mashma, like, why do you say anger? You're right. Really, Hashem wouldn't. But I don't know. I hear your point. It's also bringing a raya from Nevi'im, Ksuvim, really, right? We're bringing raya. That's where we found that's where you found the nedarim and Ksuvim. Okay, that's a good order. Hanani ben Achi Rabbi Shua Aimer, Hanani, the nephew of Rabbi Shua, right, the son of the brother of Rabbi Shua, said, I think this is a parrot. I think this is a song, right? I think there's a song, but
I think it's by Baruch Ber, no?
Yes, it is a song. Yeah.
yeah, okay, there you go. They said, I write Nishpati v'kayema. I made a shvu when I was in the kaima. Lishmar mishpatei tzidkecha. To wash the mishpatim of your tzidkecha. Fine. Amar Avilam Shmuel. If I would have been there, I don't understand what this one is. If I would have been there, I would have said mine is better than yours. Okay, I would hope that he would say that. No, right? Otherwise, what's the point of having a different pshat? So, anyways, Shanemar lo yachal devari says he should not make his words into chulin. Hu eina meichel, he's not allowed to. But he can get a bezdin to be meichel, meaning a guy can make a neder. He can't go take back that neder, but a bezdin can. Fine. Some are over lekulu islu pircha. They all there's kashas on all of them. Levarmi de Shmuel, except for Shmuel, the less pircha. Shmuel's pshat does not have any kash on it. Dima Rebbe Eliezer, if it's from Rebbe Eliezer, who says ki yafli, right? That was the first one, right?
So he was right that his was better than everybody else's.
No, because yeah,
well, as advertised.
You're right. You're right. But no, but it's Rabbi Yehuda saying it b'shem Shmuel. So I guess that's what I hear what you're saying, David. Meaning he was saying it in the name of Shmuel, so he wasn't really being a Balgai, but he was saying Shmuel's shot is better than yours. Right? I guess that's what you're saying. Gershon's not buying it. Okay, I don't know.
Shmuel say this before. Shmuel has this lashon. Shmuel uses this lashon occasionally. I would have said mine's better than everyone else.
Okay, but here's
it's not Geyser.
Here, Rabbi Yehuda said it b'shem Shmuel, his pshat.
He's quoting the whole line, but Shmuel said the whole thing. Havai Hasam was Shmuel's words.
Is that so?
Yeah.
He's about to be proven right. So what's the deal?
I guess. Saying,
if it was Rabbi Yehuda,
I would have said Shmuel's pshat over, which would have been better than all your pshatim. Okay, I could have totally wrong. I have no idea. That's okay. I'm just trying to save face for Rabbi Yehuda. I'm saying make it understandable.
It would be worse if it was Rabbi Yehuda.
Right, but he's saying it b'shem Shmuel.
Yeah, but he would be saying that it's my pshat in Shmuel's name. That doesn't quite jive.
Shmuel is making a statement of fact. It's not a guy, but he's saying my pshat works out better than yours. I don't see what the problem is with that.
Okay, so anyway, so the Gemara agrees and says that's true that they're all. I mean, Rava at least agrees. They all have kashas except for Shmuel. So the really as a dimlik Rabbi Yehuda, Sham Mishum Reb Tarfon, the Tana Yehuda, Mishum Reb Tarfon, Lo'ilamal, Ein Echan Mem Nazir, Shalei Nit Nazirus Elul Afla. Right? None of them is a Nazir, right? Meaning, if there's a whole case here, two are sitting and says, one of them, two guys are sitting, and comes along one and says, I'm a Nazir, right? I'm a Nazir if the guy walking by, you have two guys sitting on the park bench, Shabbos afternoon, they're bored stiff, right? They say to each other, hey, if this guy just gets into the gambling thing, right? If this guy coming by us is a Nazir, then I'm also going to be a Nazir, right? Right? So then one of them is, and the other one says, no, I bet you he's not a Nazir. So they make a gamble, right? And so then the Gemara is saying that you really can't become a Nazir from a suffix. You can only become a Nazir when you're a Vadai. So that's what we're saying. Neither one of them is a Nazir. Nazirus has to be very clear from the word hafla means has to be a clear, meaning you have to know exactly 100% that you're a Nazir. And in that scenario, neither one of them knows that for sure they're going to be a Nazir. That's the first one. It
looks from Rashi that it's even more than a suffix, even if it would be a Vadai.
Since at that time,
Tzliya doesn't work. It's a Tzliya. A Tzliya doesn't work. You have to say, I am a Nazir. You can't say, I am a Nazir because this is something.
Yeah, okay, I hear. It's fine. Yes, but okay. So then the second one is even Rabbi Shua Dilma Hachi Komer Ba'api Nishpati Right? Again, this is the one from Kabbalah Shabbos. Nishpati v'api. What we're going to learn pshat is be'api nishpati v'lo yadarnabi, which Avi would make sense with your kasha. I swore when I was angry, and I'm not backing down. Right? Who says that means that he's going to back down? Right? Maybe he was bothered by your kasha, so he's saying it that way. Even the Rabbi Yitzchak,
it also fits better with what happened in this week's parsha. Gemara says, I think twice in melaches and brachos, I think, that Akash Baruch Hu gave edus that Moshe Rabbeinu forced him to recant. But Ba'atzam, he wouldn't have forgiven Klal Yisrael. But Moshe Rabbeinu held me by my clothing and forced me, whatever that means.
I don't know. This
the parsha. He was forced to, but he wouldn't have changed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it fits in with the, like, if you dive in too much, then you could change. Okay, now we really get it. If you could change what Hashem really wanted, didn't want, fine. Even the Rabbi Yitzchak, Shmuel, if it's from Yitzchak, maybe it comes to exclude what Shmuel says. If you decide something in your heart, right? Rashi says, Shua, Neder, Hektish, you have to what's the word? You have to enumerate it, I guess. Not enumerate, but you have to say it out. You have to say it out loud. Otherwise, it's nothing. Baruch Hashem, right? Baruch Hashem. Maybe he's coming lafuke from Shmuel. And our Gemara is telling you that even if you didn't say it out, you're mechuyev to. Can you imagine what would happen then? Every time you hear a speech from Rabbi Waxman for an hour and 15 minutes, say, "Oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that." Right? I'm going to do that, and then you end up forced. Then you end up having to do that.
Well, he came on the daf a half hour later, so I guess maybe it worked.
I guess so, but I don't know if he's even hearing what we're saying. But anyway, we're saying, imagine every time you think that you're gonna do something good, that's a neder. Woo! It'd be terrible. I mean, we don't.
They say that with tzedakah. I think Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, if he was
by tzedakah we do say it. Very good. By tzedakah we say it. By tzedakah we say it. That's what we said, that you have to. With tzedakah, you should have in mind that it's never becoming tzedakah until you actually give it to the guy.
It's lucky that there's nothing going through my brain. So,
Baruch Hashem, right? When your wife asks you, "What do you think?" I'm thinking nothing. Right? There's something to that when the husband says that. But there is an interesting, not a pashut the thing. David, you sent it to me a few days ago with the meaning. If you decide to do the daf, you start to learn the daf a day. After 3 times, it becomes a neder. It becomes as if you said it. So how are you ever allowed to stop? And then the place can discuss like a daf that we just had last Thursday when it's 10 lines. So maybe you have a neder. You have to do a blot every day, right? Because you made a neder, right? You start a chavrusa. Who says you're allowed to leave the chavrusa? Right? You start going to minyan.
What happens if it was 10 lines? What does that mean? I don't know what you're saying.
You made a neder. Every day you learn a blot Gemara. Every day. So the last daf of the thing, the last daf of the Masechta did not have a blot. So you didn't.
It doesn't have 2 sides, Naftali. No. It's not about the number of lines.
It didn't have 2 sides.
Only had another side.
You're doing a blot. That one didn't have a blot.
Okay, so that's obviously that's what we go with. That's what we go with. But
Rabbi Stein, it's Daf Yomi, not blot Yomi.
Very good. You're mixing it up with Amud Yomi, okay? I don't know. Amud. So what's Amud Yomi then? Okay.
Well, tomorrow's Daf Halacha, right? But Dirshu, and it's only one side.
You can't miss that. You can't miss that. You can't read a Jewish publication without seeing 14 pages of it every week. Yeah, fine.
You just reminded me of Mice of the Chafetz Chaim. I heard firsthand.
Yeah.
From the Talmud that happened. From the Talmud that it happened.
No, from the
Talmud. Okay. It happened too.
Okay.
There's a Rav in Lake Rabbi Whale. His grandfather-in-law, Oliver Shalom, I think, was there. Spent Shavuos with him. So we made him tell us a few meisim that happened with him and the Chafetz Chaim. He was a Talmud of the Chafetz Chaim. He said over this meisa, he was a new Talmud in Yeshiva. He was walking down the hallway in Yeshiva past the Chafetz Chaim's office, and the door was open, and he heard the Chafetz Chaim was struggling with something. And he looked in, he saw the Chafetz Chaim, and the Chafetz Chaim beckoned to him to come. He said, "Come help me with something." He was fishing in his pants, basically, and he couldn't do anything. He was petrified. You could see the fear on his face when he said the story over. he had so much yira for the Chafetz Chaim, but he went in. He couldn't, whatever. The Chafetz Chaim tells you to come, you come. And the Chafetz Chaim asked him to help him take a gartel off. At that point, he didn't know what to think. He says, I don't know if he was gonna give me a klala, a bracha, or whatever. I don't know what was going on. It's not hard to take a gartel off. The Chafetz Chaim asked me to help him take a gartel off. So whatever, he helped the Chafetz Chaim take the gartel off. That was the first bracha he got from the Chafetz Chaim. And afterwards, he asked a couple of the older people in yeshiva, what happened? He said the Chafetz Chaim, a few years earlier, had davened in a shtibel, apparently, and the minhag hamakom was to wear a gartel. And after davening, the Chafetz Chaim couldn't remember if he said bli neder before mincha or not. So that was a neder for him. The one time he put a gartel on, he said from then on, every tefillah he wore a gartel. Not the Chafetz Chaim.
I knew why I didn't like this Meiser when you started it. Now I know why.
Listen, I'll be miyashiv you.
Why do you ask him to help him?
He said it was such a neder, it was so powerful by the Chafetz Chaim that he couldn't even take it off.
Okay, we know that now Rabban, I'm going to give you a story that happened with me with the Chafetz Chaim's gartel, and that'll make you be happier. Okay, so nothing like Gershon's Meiser, but anyway, he definitely used the gartel at the end of his life. That's clear. It's really unclear why. The kids are Meiser, by my chasana, they offered me, my wife's cousin offered me, you want to wear the Chafetz Chaim's gartel by your chuppah? And I said, I don't wear a gartel. I don't care whose gartel is. I ain't wearing it by my chuppah, but I don't wear a gartel. So that's that. I didn't wear his gartel. Okay. So
Good.
Because I
didn't wear the Chafetz Chaim's gartel.
Exactly right.
That's a good Meiser.
Now you know what it could have done to you.
It happens to be a better Meiser, Tziyako.
There you go. So
He's the only one that would do that.
Now everybody's happy. All the gartel wearers out there.
Just there, what to go? What did your father say? Did your father ever find out? He told you not to or to?
I don't know. I
He didn't
imagine
know.
he knew about. I imagine he knew about the offer. I imagine. I don't know. If I would be like Chafetz Chaim, I'd have to be stuck wearing a gartel the rest of my life. Chafetz Chaim's gartel, no less. What would happen to me? I'd be killed if I said I had made a neder. I'm wearing the Chafetz Chaim's gartel for the rest of my life. Okay, whatever. Anyways, that's a good Meiser, Gershon. If that's the reason, it's interesting. Fine. Even the Chanani ben Achi, Rabbi Yeshua, that's not a good raya either. Maybe he goes like Rav. So how do you know that you're allowed to make a shvua to be mekayim a mitzvah? So why would you do this? So Rashi and Tosfos both say the reason why you're going to make a shvua is because then you'll take the mitzvah much more serious. Shenemar nishpati v'kayema lishma bishpatei tzidkecha. I swore to be mekayim the halachos. Ela the Shmuel less leipircha, but Shmuel there's no kasha. There's nothing to ask. So Shmuel's din must have been the source, must have been the best. So Amar Rav Itam Rav Nachman Yosef Hanodam Riinchi Tava Chada Pepilta Charifta. One sharp pepper is better than Memale Tzina, the Kri, better than a whole basket of gourds, melons, whatever it is. Yeah, fine. Hilchos Shabbos. I wish we had more time for this next Gemara, but what can you do? Hilchos Shabbos. So Gemara says Hilchos Shabbos Michtuk Sivan. There's plenty of psukim that talk about Hilchos Shabbos. It's not a lot, but there's psukim. It's not like you're hanging a mountain on a hair. So like Tzricha look at the Rav Abba. We'll go like Rav Abba. Domer Rav Abba. Hachayfer Guma b'Shabbos ve'en tzarich ela la'afra poter olah. If somebody digs a hole on Shabbos, and that's it. It's a deraisa plowing in the house. It's plowing, and out of the house it's plowing. In the house it would be considered building, right? So if you dig it and you only need it for the dirt, so that's what we call a melacha she'ena tzricha legufa, meaning you have to do a melacha for the intended reason that they did the melacha in the Mishkan for. In the Mishkan they dug holes in order to plant or whatever to build. They didn't dig holes for the dirt. So if you dig a hole for the dirt, even though you did the exact same ma'isa, you're potter. So that's what the Mishna is referring to. Kaman, Kereb Shimon, Damer melacha she'ena tzricha legufa potter olah. He holds, and this is where we paskin, right? That a melacha she'ena tzricha legufa, you are potter, right? Meaning it's awesome in the Rabbanan, but you're still potter. And obviously, we use this a lot in Hilchos Shabbos, right? So Nengmor says, "Afilu tem Rabbi Yehuda." You could even say it's going to Rabbi Yehuda that holds melacha shein tzrichul gufas chayiv. Hasam misakin. There, you're fixing something, right? When you're bringing, it's referring to bringing a dead body out of the house. So that's haitzah. You're carrying from inside, from Rishus Hayach to Rishus Harabim, right? But there, the reason why you're carrying the mace out is not because you want to carry it into Rishus Harabim. You just want to get it out of the house. That's also melacha shein tzrichul gufa. So, but Rabbi Yehuda there has a problem with it because you're actually fixing something, because you're making the house livable. Over here, by digging a hole, you're destroying your yard. You need the dirt, but you're destroying your yard. You're certainly not happy with that, so you putter. So that's where Hilchos Shabbos can be vague. So fine. So then my So what does it mean by Shabbos that it's mountains and hanging by a hair? On Talmud Beis now. Meleches machsheves asur Torah, because the Torah only asur meleches machsheves, or meleches machsheves like siva, and it doesn't say anything about meleches machsheves. Meaning, meleches machsheves it has to be the way it was meant. Machsheves meaning the way it was done in the Mishkan, mamash from this week's parsha, right? The reason why they put Hilchos Shabbos right after the Mishkan was built, to tell you what's asur on Shabbos is to do it exactly like it was done in the Beis HaMikdash, right? Fine. So that's yeah. So I mean, obviously, the most pashut way to understand this is, why is doing the shino change anything, right? When you do a melacha b'shino, you say, oh, you have to do something, do it b'shino. Why? Not downgrades from the Raisa to Rabbanan. Why? Because you're doing it differently than the way they did it in the Mishkan. So meleches, since you're doing it different than the Mishkan, that's not awesome in a Torah. Even though the Tosfos goes through a bunch of other examples, but that's the simplest way to understand it. So that's why Hilchos Shabbos is very vague. Fine, Chagigahs. So Gemara says Michta Ksivan Chagigah says beferish in the Torah, right? That you have to bring in Parshas Emor Chagoisem Oseh Chag L'Hashem. So Leitrichel Gedamer Le Rapapa L'Abaye, because Rapapa asked Abaye, Mimai Tahayva Chagoisem Oseh Chag L'Hashem Zvicha. Right? Is Ben Elachman on? I don't know. This is right. Another one for him here. Right? It says, who says it's a korban? Maybe it just means to have simcha, which Rashi, the Tosfos, seems to say means dancing. Right? We have many shuls that do that. Right? But maybe chaygu chaga doesn't mean you have to eat meat, just means you dance. Elamayatis, someone says, if you think that that's what it means just to be happy, yeah, but that's in addition. That's not on Yom Tov. That's Cholamayit. We're talking about actually on Yom Tov, right? So again, we're trying to say that maybe you don't have to eat meat on Yom Tov. Maybe you just do something that's fun. That's essentially what the Gemara is asking. So the Gemara says, it says v'yachaygu liba midbar, and then they're going to have a chag in the midbar, right? In Shmais. Does that mean just go out and have a party in the midbar? And if you say, yeah, maybe Taka means that Hashem said, go out to the midbar and have a party. Said in the pasuk, you give into our hands vachim and oilas. So clearly it says karbanos. There chag means karbanos. So Gemara says, no, maybe what the pasuk meant there was eat and drink and have a party in front of me, right? Meaning, so then you have to say that the word zvachim doesn't mean karbonos, right? It just means yom tovim, just not yom tovim, to have a good time. So Gemara says, don't think that. Don't leave over the fats until the morning. So how could you say if you say that chag doesn't mean karbonos, it means to have a party. So where's the fats from? If you say it's a party, are there fats for a party? There's no fats there for no leftover fat. So it must be that it's a korban. So Gemara says no. The fats that you could bring at the time of a chag, don't leave them over. It doesn't mean you have to bring them. So Elamiyat says, if that's the case, above is man chag hu de lo yolin. That's mashred only karbonos that come during a yom tov you don't leave over. Ha de cholashana kula yolin, but mashred that the fats of karbonos that you bring a whole year, it does. It says the whole night until the morning. It says that by all the karbonos all year, right? So therefore, you see that you're not allowed to leave over any korbanos. So the Gemara says, no, Dilma imeahu havamina hula asay. Maybe that's for a mitzvah asay, that you have to leave it, you have to burn it, right, and have it burned by the morning. Because the Rahmana hai lalav, and here it's telling you that not only is it over on asay, you're also on a lav. So the Gemara says that can't be either, because the lav because of kra'achrina. A lav, it says a different pasuk. It says v'lo yalim min habasar asher tizbach be'erev b'yom rishon labayker. It says, don't leave over the basar from the night until the morning. So Gemara says, maybe it's to be over on 2 lav and an asay, right? Which Taisus already asked. Well, I mean, we don't try and do these things to pile up lavim and asay. We try and find different dinim that they're coming to teach. Okay, ayin sham v'dilma lav lo b'shnei lav and asay eliasia midbar, right? It says midbar, ksiv hacha v'yichaygu liba midbar, and have a yom tiv on the midbar. Uksiv hasav v'zvachim on mincha yigashtem liba midbar. Zvachim and mincha, you serve me in the midbar. Malahal on zvachim, just like over there, it has to mean actual physical korbanos, animals. Afkan zvachim, so to here it's zvachim. So that's what it's saying, that Chagigah is not so clear exactly what's going on. Okay, so Maya Karona Tuli Basaira, but it says the bottom line is it says Beferish a pasuk about Chagigah. So why is it like a mountain that's hanging by a hair? So Divrei Torah, Divrei Kabbalah lo yafinon, because we don't learn out Divrei Torah from Divrei Kabbalah, right? And since we're learning out that the Chag, the Yechaygu Li for Karbanis, we're learning it out from a pasuk in Nevi'im. So miilah, we don't lechatchila try and learn that. Fine. Okay, miilahs. So miilah, again, is halachos of when you use something of hektish, and then you have to bring a korban miilah, and you have to pay back a fifth more, and depending, well, if you did it b'shaygig, you have to pay back a fifth more. Miilah is by definition, if you did it by mistake, not on purpose. Right, so miilahs. So the Gemara says michtav ksivan. That it also says miilah beferish in the Torah. Because we learned in a Mishna, hashliach shasa shlichusay, balabayas mal. Let's say you make a shliach to go spend money of hektish, right? So now the shliach's the one that's doing something wrong, not the mishaleach. I mean, mishaleach ain't going to win the tzaddik at a year award for sending somebody to do an aveir of him, but the bottom line is the shliach doing the aveira. So shliach shasa shlichusay balabayas mal. In this case, the balabayas, the one that sent him, is mal lo yasa shlichusay. But if he didn't do a shlichus, right? Meaning, let's say you sent him to take the hektish money and buy a hot dog with it, and instead he bought a hamburger. So he did not do a shlichus. So if he bought a hot dog and he did a shlichus, so the balabayas is chayiv. If he bought a hamburger, then he's chayiv. And if he did the shlichus, what did he do? Why is the balabas ma'il? Can somebody do a chet and the other guy be chayiv? Meaning we have such a concept of shlichus to do a mitzvah. Shliach shel adam k'maisai, but we don't have shliach shel adam k'maisai by an aveira, except here. So hainu karon atuli b'saira. That's why these halachos are like the mountains that are hanging by a hair. So my Rabba, who might kush you, what's the kasha? Because we learn out chet from truma. Ma hasam shliach shel adam k'maisai. By truma, the shliach of a person is like a person. Afkan shliach shel adam k'maisai. So to here, the shliach shel adam is k'maisai, right? So Gemara says, so that can't be the pshat. Elamar Rava lo nitzruch elu l'tanya niskor balabayis. Let's say using this case, the balabayis remembered again. It was done by it's a shaygig. We're not doing it on purpose. He did it b'shaygig. He sent him to buy the hot dog and the hamburger by mistake with hektish money. He didn't do it on purpose, right? So let's say the balabais, after the shliach left to the market to go get the food, he remembered, oh boy, I just gave him the wrong money. So niskar balabais v'lo niskar shliach. If the balabais remembered, but the shliach did not remember, which obviously means he didn't remember, wasn't his money. So then shliach mal, the shliach was over miilah. Shliach anya. So the Gemara asked, the shliach is an ani, my covet. What did he do wrong? How is he supposed to know that the guy who asked him to go buy the food was giving him hektish money? So hainu karona toli b'saira. That's what it means, that it's like mountains hanging on a hair. So Amar Rav Ashi, my kusha, what's the kasha? Dilma midi dava moitzi mois hektish l'chulin. Maybe it's like somebody who takes hektish money and he puts it into chulin, right? Meaning he didn't know, and he didn't know, but we say that he's chayiv. Elam Ravashi, it's the same thing here. He didn't know that he was spending that money. Elam Ravashi, not all even hektish. Let's say somebody took a beam or a rock of hektish. Hareza loy mal. He's not mal, right? Meaning even though you're the one that took it, right? By mistake, you walked by the Beis Hamikdash, you picked up a rock or a beam, and you didn't do anything with it. Then nitna l'chaveru, you gave it to your friend who's he needed an extra beam, so you gave it to your friend. Huma b'chaveru lemal. So then he is over on miilah, and his friend is not. Right? Michti mishkal shakla. He took it, right? Mali who mali chaveru. What's the difference? If he took it or whether his friend took it. So that's like mounds that are hanging by a hair. So the Gemara says, "My kushi, what's a kasha? Dilma kid the Shmuel." Maybe it's like Shmuel, Dama Shmuel, Hacha, Hantamid Aleph. Now Hacha, talking about the Gizbar, Hamasuras le Avni Binyanaskin. We're talking about the actual, the how do you call it, the Gizbar, the treasurer, who has control of everything. The Chalefa de Mancha, the Rishus de Mancha. Wherever they are, it's considered his Rishus. So when the other guy took it from his Rishus, that's when it went out of Hektish. Even though it was in the Gabai's house, but it was still considered the Makam Hektish. Elam Seifa, so it must be from the Seifa. Bana of the Seif Pesa. Let's say you took this beam and you built it into your house. Areza Leimal, you're not over on miilah, you have to live under that beam. A Shava Pruta's worth, which means you basically have to do something under that beam. Until you do that, you're not over on miilah, even though you built it into your house. So Michti, Shnu Yeshanya. Right? You changed it by taking the beam and putting it into your house, or you cemented it, or you nailed it in. Mali daru, mali loydor. What's the difference? You took it from Hektish. What's the difference if you live under it or you don't live under it? So that's why the halachos of miilah like mountains hanging by a hair. So Gemara asks, I'm sorry I'm going a little fast, but I'm a little late for the other share. My kusha, dilma look Rav. Maybe it goes like Rav. Dama Rav. Sorry, but somewhere where he put it, he didn't build it into the house. He put it over a skylight. Darbe, meaning he didn't affect the beam. He didn't change the beam. He just put it over a skylight. Darbe in, Eloi darbe loy. If he lived under it, then good. If not, not. It's really like Rava. Right? We're talking about with the shliach. With the kakashalach, midi tahava moitzi mois hektish l'chulin. It should be the same way that you take money to put it out to chulin. Hasam made the yadadi because zuzi the hektish. There, he knew it was zuzi the hektish. He should have checked. He should have seen. He knew he had money of hektish on it. He should have been more careful to know whether he's spending money of hektish or money of chulin. Hacha, but here by the shliach miyada, how's he supposed to know? And yet he's still chayiv. Hainu karona tulim b'saira. That's why the halachos of miilah are so vague, so unclear that it's like a mountain that's hanging from a hair. Okay, sorry for the rush here at the end. A good tvach and a good year. I'm logging it off.
Thank you.
Thank you.